Hi, I'm here today with Polly Willcox, who is mum to Jessica and Kieran and Lewis. And Jessica also has CP, cerebral palsy. But Polly is also a CBT therapist. We're going to talk today about mental health, why it's overlooked sometimes with our kids and young people, and what we should be doing about it. So thank you for joining me, Polly.
You're welcome.
Let's start off with the big question. Why should we even be talking about this?
I think the reason we're talking about it is our kids' mental health is overlooked. I think it sort of gets caught up in the various conditions or disabilities or whatever you want to call them, so it gets ignored. So physical symptoms that is a direct result of their mental well-being are mistaken for their cerebral palsy or whatever. So if there's a tone increase, if there is maybe differences in their health, we'll put it down as parents, first and foremost. We'll put it down to, it's just because they have X or Y or whatever. But in actual fact, is it themselves that's causing it? Is it their mental well-being? Are they anxious? Are they suffering from low moods? Have they got worry? Is it rumination? Is there things going on in their head all the time that is affecting them physically? Because anxiety and depression isn't just here. It affects your whole body. And we'll know this if you go somewhere and you're excited, you'll feel it in your tummy, or you're going somewhere and you think, oh no, I need to run to the loo before I go, or headaches because you've been so concentrated because you have a task at hand and your anxiety kicks in. Our children are exactly the same. So why wouldn't we address what's going on with them and have a look what's causing their anxiety, how can we help them? And I know it's going to be very different for all children and young people because they're all different. But I suppose the point of speaking to you today is just sowing that wee seed, planting that wee idea for parents to own communication with their children.
Because I think it is very easy for us, even with the best intentions, to be so focused on physical complaints, surgical needs or reflux or feeding issues, whatever. It's almost kind of just, it's not an intentional overlooking. It just doesn't maybe even cross your mind that it's something that you need to consider. So are there certain things that you think make our kids and young people more susceptible to mental health issues?
I think, first of all, they will have the same fears and anxieties as every other child or young person has. They aren't in a bubble. They are listening to media. They are feeding off parents and family members. So they will have the same fears about the future, about the world, about the environment, because they're fed it. But they also have fears unique to them of their future. What if mum and dad aren't there? What if I don't have any carers? And the other thing is unique about them is their care. As parents of young people, we take so much of their role. We look after them. We have to do their very basic needs that other people take for granted. And in doing that as well, we sort of take away some of their power, not intentionally. We have to look after them. We have to care for them. So their view of the world is very different. Whereas, someone who has low mood or depression can stay in their beds and care, not a good thing, but they're in their beds. For us, because we take care of our children, we sort of take them out of that. And when you're in such a low mood, if you're feeling sort of helpless and a bit lost, for someone to take you away from, and you just want to be under the covers, I would imagine that is quite frightening.
So some of the things that you and I might do to kind of self-medicate.
Absolutely.
To kind of take care of a moment when things just don't feel right. Our kids and young people just haven't got that autonomy to be able to do that.
But I think as well they possibly do have, but we're just not aware of it. So what power do they have? Some of our children have this power of being able to refuse to eat. They can, within the things of their control, they will control to a greater extent. And we might not realise that actually there's something maybe not quite as it should be. They might be over anxious, or they might be suffering from low mood. So they'll take control of things that they can. So not wanting to go to like respite, not wanting to do normal activities that they normally do, as I say, refusing foods, even simple things like if they're continent, taking control of that and maybe having more accidents. This could be them all doing things to let you know, I'm not right, I'm not okay. And the message I'm trying to get across to them and to the parents and caregivers is it's all right not to be okay, but finding ways of trying to get them to empower themselves to rather than go to the extremes that they can go to and get to a low place that they could potentially go to, is saying, right, okay, how do we stop this earlier? What lines of communication do we need to open to allow you to express what you're feeling, whether it's low, whether you're anxious, whether you're frightened, whether it's worry.
So a lot of it's vocabulary, isn't it? Whatever that vocabulary looks like, whether it's a picture or verbal, it's developing a language around mental health that maybe we don't do with our kids.
No, because I think we are, as you said, we're all consumed with what is, looking after them and, their health, their tones, their schooling, their college, their care, and what's going on in their heads. So whatever works for your child, whatever communication system that you have going in your family, that's how you get through to them. That's how you try and say it's all right not to be okay. What's going on with you today? And then importantly, what's really going on with you today? Because it might not always, as all things, I have 2 teenage boys, when you say, how are you? I'm fine. Are you really fine? And that opens up the dialogue, which can be shut down. And our children have the right, to shut it down. As, mental health work isn't easy, and it has to be a two-way street. From being a therapist's point of view, if the person that I'm working with isn't wanting to engage, then there's nothing I can do about it. And it's at their time when they're ready to say, okay, I'm ready, and their children are the same.
Yeah. And one of the other unique circumstances, I suppose, that we're in and our kids and young people are in is this turnaround of support, paid support. And I know that's something that we've spoken about in the past, is, you some of us employ our own support workers, or you may have an organisation that supplies them, and those people leave.
They leave.
And that's hard.
And it's not addressed. I think in transition as well, our young people should be made aware that this isn't forever. The person that you find to care for you is not forever. And then you're sort of dealing with loss. You're dealing with loss and change all the time. So if you can imagine, you've got all these people around you, you see you every day, they're doing your most personal business, they're with you, outings, everything, and then they all leave. And you're left. And who are you going to blame? Me. It's my fault. There's something I've done. And I experienced that with my daughter, which broke my heart because she pointed to herself. And I said, do you think it's you? And you're left, thinking, what do I do? How do I make this better? So you have to build them resilience. You have to be quite hard at times saying, you know what, this isn't forever. And that's okay, because experience tells you and evidence tells you somebody else will come along. They might not be the same, they'll be different, but they'll bring qualities that maybe your original people didn't have. And then saying to them, where's the evidence? Was the person that you had before perfect all the time? Did you like them all the time? Were there things that bugged you? Right, okay, hold on to that.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier.
And you mentioned transition as well. And again, I think as parents and caregivers, we kind of get caught up in the whole transition process of, social work and hours and what we're going to do every day and college and blah, blah, blah. And you forget actually, particularly if that young person's been in an additional support needs school, that maybe they've been in since they were 5 with the same staff and the same peer group, and overnight, it's gone.
And that's frightening.
Really frightening, it must be.
And that's frightening. So you can understand then why, they have anxiety, whatever their anxiety is, but are we having the conversations? How are you? What are you thinking about this? having this conversation, because it's almost an assumption, because we are caught up in the next stage. Where we're going, college, we need carers for college, transport for college, is there funding for college? Is there college?
Yeah.
Is there anywhere?
Yeah.
Is there nowhere? You know, and they're listening.
And we're feeling anxiety. So
So-
how on earth are they not?
So we're feeding theirs.
Yeah.
We're feeding theirs. So I think it's having an honest conversation as well, of saying, do you know what, I'm a bit anxious about this too. And that's hard as a parent. And it's hard as a parent when your child does have additional needs. You know, because I think we do protect them. And we protect them more than maybe we protected other children. And we would have an honest conversation, and maybe I'm a wee bit more honest now, of saying, you know what, I'm not feeling right. So how are you feeling about this? And having the conversation of, this is new, this is all a bit scary. Maybe we're feeling a little bit anxious, but anxiety is like excitement, only it's a little bit confused. It's a new adventure, and new adventures come with a little bit, oh, what's this like? Let's do this together. You know?
Do you know, I think this is such an important conversation, because so much of it is awareness.
Absolutely.
There's no rocket science in there. There's no special courses we need to go on. There's no, it's just thinking, oh, I maybe haven't thought about that before. What if you need to take it a step further? What if you think that you need some professional intervention? What sort of reception can we expect to get?
This is difficult because, and I've looked into this a lot, are there therapists out there working with non-verbal adults, children? I don't know. Not many. Recently reading a book on what CBT for, it's called intellectual disabled groups, but they're all verbal, because that was a decision that they made, because I think it was easier, because if you have good communication, but if you've not got communication, it's difficult. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's not impossible because this is the world I know.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I think from families, it's whatever the families know their child to do. I think it's more difficult as well if you do go to see a therapist and you have to have the third person in the room. And I think it's the same as if you, English isn't your first language and you have an interpreter. There's an interpretation of what the person is saying, and that makes therapy difficult. Are there organisations out there for our children? I just don't know. I just don't know. And I suppose if you're really concerned about your child, then it would be your GP and seeing what is out there.
Yeah.
Because there may well be specific organisations that look at our children. I don't know. And again, are they actually going to listen?
Yeah.
Are they going to listen and just say, oh, well, it's just because they have X or Y? You know, and very much this is evident on people who are on the spectrum, that mental health in that group is missed.
Yeah.
You know, because they have a heightened awareness of things that they'll just put down to, oh, that's just them. Actually, they're really, really anxious.
Yeah.
You know, and why we're not looking at it, right, okay, just because you have this doesn't mean to say you're not suffering from some sort of mental illness. We can have both.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that's it's missed a lot.
Yeah.
So mental well-being is essential for everybody. So let's not miss out that group of people who need the same care and self-care as the rest of us.
Self-care, that's a really interesting one actually, because again, that's something that we maybe don't consider that our kids and young people need. We don't address that, do we? I don't think.
We don't. Because again, we do so much. And again, the important question is, what do you need? You know, what do you need as parents of this unique group of children? Do we do self-care to ourselves? Probably not.
Probably not.
And if we don't have self-care, your tank is empty. You know, it's a bit like a fuel tank. So to keep your car going, you've got to top it up with petrol. To keep us going, we have to have self-compassion and self-care for us so we can care for them. And if we don't have that, then there's a deficit. And that's when things get tricky because we're overtired and we're over anxious and we're more susceptible to low moods as well. So it could be simply, taking that 5 minutes to go and read your book, have the bath. And I know sometimes it's so difficult. But whatever it needs, you schedule it into your day, you make it a daily thing to look after yourself. So can we do it with our children? What do you need? What do you like? What would make you feel better? And it's hard. It's hard because they haven't got the spontaneity to go, and even sometimes to know what they need.
Yeah.
Because it's never been addressed.
Fascinating. Well, I mean, I hope that this message gets out there loud and clear, and people start to think a little bit more about it. As I know we have a lot to think about as parents and caregivers, but it's important stuff. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And it might even make our jobs easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Hooray. Thanks, Polly.
Thank
Cheers.
you.